Hi, the time is 4 o'clock and you're glued to Hope TV Ghana. And the program is Wounds of the Heart, where we're going to bring you something that will help you psychologically, emotionally, physically to be able to stand firm no matter what you're going through. As usual, it has been a while and I've missed you guys, and I know that you also miss me too. Today, I've come to your airways once again to come and educate all of us, to help us to be able to overcome certain things that happens in our life. Today I have with me someone who had been with me or was with me last year today. This year he has accepted to be here again to help us learn one or two things that bothers us and that is killing a lot of us emotionally and spiritually. But before then, I just want to say that if you want to contribute to this program, we're live on Hope TV, GH, Facebook, and YouTube. So you can just write your comment or any question you have. You can also send your questions and your comment to 0559 535554. 0559 535554. If you need anything aside what we are teaching, what we are going to educate, if you have a personal issue, if you want us to connect you to a counselor, you can still call that line 0559 535554. 0559 535554. And I will also thank Slick Africa for still working with me. And the fabric is by Slick Africa. If you want any fabric, whatever type you want, if you contact Slick Africa on this number, you get them 0557 355 852. 0557 355 852. I'm still seeking for sponsorship for this program. So if you can connect me to someone, if you can connect Wounds of the Heart to someone, you can also call the same line 0559 535554, 0559 535554, so that we'll have a chat or conversation to see how best we can seal that sponsorship. Today I have with me, as I said, he has been a good guest on this program. Since I started, he has been helpful to this program and you out there too. We will discuss this beautiful topic that is hardly heard on our screen. And today, before we delve into the topic of miscarriage, the psychological effect of miscarriage, that's what we're going to treat. For the first timers, I know that you want to know who my guest is. So help me to introduce Dr. Nimonatha. Doctor, good evening and welcome to the program.
Good evening.
Dr. Sake of the first time, so probably somebody is watching us for the first time. Who is Dr. Nimonatha?
This question. Well, I'm a medical doctor and clinical psychologist. And I'm the acting medical director for the University of Professional Studies Medical Directorate.
Whoa.
So,
Whoa. Is Doc a family man?
Yes, I'm married with 2 kids.
Beautiful, beautiful.
And I'm also a Christian.
That's wonderful. Doc, before I entered in, do you take private counseling?
Yes. Okay. So those who want to get in touch with me privately, they can also do so.
So when by the time we're done, I'll let Doctor put his contact online so that to end the program, so that in case you want Doc, or if you want me to connect you to him too, you can still call the line as I said. Doctor, I was just reading and I realized that about 10 to 20% of women face miscarriages, and it drew my attention to the fact that it is sort of death, and death also brings a lot of trauma or whatever. And I realized we need to let viewers out there, especially the husbands whose wife always go through this moment called a miscarriage, to also learn something and how best we're going to help people, our sisters and our mothers who go through that. Doctor, what is miscarriage? Okay,
so I'm happy you mentioned the men, because when you talk about miscarriage, because the woman is the one who carries the baby, all the attention goes to the woman. But the men equally go through some kind of problems. So generally, miscarriage, depending on where you are in the world, it may affect the definitions.
Okay.
And we usually use pregnancy up to about 24 weeks. Some will do 20 weeks, others will do 23 weeks. But it is basically pregnancy up to the point where the child cannot exist. The likelihood of the child existing outside the womb, very unlikely.
Okay.
So anytime before 24 weeks, it's quite difficult for the child to survive outside the womb. The womb is what carries the baby, nourishes the baby, helps the baby to develop well. It's the safest right environment. You know, when the baby is in there, you have the placenta, you have, what do you call it, the water bathing the baby, right? So the baby has its own environment. The water cushions the baby and all that. And so the womb is the safest place for the baby to grow. So anything that happens to, what do you call it, the baby inside the womb or with the mother can lead to the premature, delivery of the baby.
Okay.
When I say premature delivery, it means it's not the right time.
Okay.
But we use miscarriage up to the point where we know that the baby cannot survive outside the womb. Beyond 24 weeks, if you have good, health facility, they can actually keep the baby alive till the baby can survive. So outside in Ghana it's difficult, but in other more developed, advanced countries with advanced medical systems, babies can survive. But beyond 24 weeks, that is when baby is likely to survive outside the womb. But before that, it's very, very difficult. So before that is what we say miscarriage. Some people can go as low as 20 weeks because they have the systems to be able to even help the baby grow after 20 weeks.
So 20 weeks is about 3?
No, it's about 4 to 5 weeks.
4 to 5 weeks.
4 to 5 months.
Month, okay.
Yes,
okay.
So around 5 months, 4 to 5 months.
Okay.
That is when, and to about 6 months. So you have about 4 to about 6 months. Right. So after 6 months, the likelihood of the baby surviving is very high.
Okay.
Before that, it's very, very difficult.
So it is like the sickle cell people. They said that there's a specific age that 21 to 24, a sickle cell person may not.
It's sickle cell is on another level, and that was those days.
Beautiful.
So that was those days. Yes. So now sickle cell, they're able to survive. Though you may have some of them die at a younger age. Right. But you may have quite a number surviving, and living a normal life.
You see, the reason why I injected this one was that when we were young, we hear they said, they have a specific age or or a safe kind of stuff. So they're either 21 or 24 years. Say we need 24, but now it is better. I'm talking in terms of the 4 to 6
miscarriage.
Months.
Yes.
So if a pregnancy is just about after 6 months, the likelihood of the baby surviving to become a person
is very high, and it depends on where they are. It depends on where they are. If they have the advanced, medical systems and facilities to be able to keep some as low as 20 weeks. Some countries have advanced medical, so they may put their miscarriage around 20 weeks.
20 weeks. So, Doc, so in a simple term, miscarriage is when the womb can't carry the baby.
When you lose the baby before that. So when the baby comes out.
When the baby comes, because the womb couldn't carry.
Yeah, so miscarry.
Carry. Oh, okay. But to me, I want us to understand. There are things we say. We know the word miscarriage, and we always say. But then, in a simple term, for me, you who are home, who probably may not have so well in the medical terms to understand what. So if the womb couldn't carry the baby till the 20 weeks. Below 20 weeks, and sometimes just a week after 20, then we call it miscarriage. But can it begin? Is it just before 20 weeks and answer it?
No. So any time before that.
That's fine.
And a lot of miscarriages happen in the first trimester, up to about 12 weeks.
12 weeks. That is
third cluster. Okay. Yes, maybe 12 weeks. That is about 3 months. A lot of pregnancies end around that time. But so anytime, before the period of viability, as I said, viability, period where the pregnancy can survive outside, the baby can survive outside the womb. And we put it around 20, 21, 22, 23, 24 weeks, around that time. Okay. So around that time, depending on where you are, baby can survive outside the womb. Okay. Before that, it's very difficult. So if the baby comes out, the baby is going to die.
But Doc, before I go to the next question, Doc, when does the baby develop the organs?
So there are various stages of organ development. So the brain starts developing at a certain time. The heart,
the sex organs, the sex organs.
I'm not quite sure. I may have to check that one. But different organs develop differently at different times.
Well, I'm just thinking outside. I want to a bit funny because if at the end of the day 20 weeks or after 6 months, the baby can survive, and if organs and sexual organs are not formed before.
No. So okay, I now understand what you mean. So far as the baby is out and can survive outside, all the organs will keep developing.
Okay.
So it won't be like you came out after 24 weeks, so your organs will not develop. No. So I now get to the question. I now get to it. So it's like growth. That is why some people have all kinds of mindset about even abortion, right? Where we can use interchangeably miscarriage and abortion with medical doctors.
Okay.
So when we say abortion, either the mother actually decides to terminate it by itself intentionally,
it is intentional,
or when the baby comes out by itself. We use as medical doctors interchangeably. So you go to hospital and we say complete abortion or threatened abortion or something. We may mean miscarriage.
Miscarriage, okay.
In that sense. In that sense. Okay. But people have, growth is from conception. So babies grew in terms of conception.
Okay.
It's growth.
Okay.
But the only thing is the environment they grow.
Okay.
At some point, the environment is the womb. At another point, the environment is the external world.
Okay.
Right. So people have an argument that so far as the child is in the womb, it's not a human being. It's not medically true.
True. Okay.
You understand? So growth is continuous.
Continuous from the
so
day.
Yes, from the day. If, for example, we have technology to keep the baby, and the baby can grow outside the womb,
exactly.
Then we'll be able to know.
All right.
Right. So when people argue that abortion, the child is not a human being, it's just it doesn't hold medical grounds.
That's
right. So right from conception, everything begins to develop, and it's at various stages of development. So it grows and grows and grows. The brain has a time it grows and all that maturity, and even after birth, even if the baby survives up to 9 months, the baby is still growing. Grows, you have a baby, you have an infant, you have and that kind of, you go to adolescence and all that. Even the brain, the brain continues to grow until about age 25 or 24.
Okay.
So it's growth. So the organs do not stop growing just because the baby is outside.
Okay.
But in terms of compatibility with life, the baby's lungs and heart to be able to survive the rigorous, the baby's immune system and all that to survive the rigorous, external environment outside the womb. That is where the problem is. Because the womb, God has made the womb very, very, very nice, such that it can, it's the most comfortable place, I think, where the baby. So a mother can have an accident, have injuries, but the baby may be cushioned because of all the systems inside the womb. So that's why a mother can die and the baby in the womb, unless there's some delay. They can actually take the baby out if the baby is well. So the womb is a safety environment, for the growth of a baby. Yes.
All right. So, doctor, is there any symptoms?
Okay, so
when will let the husband know or the wife know?
So they may have this bleed. It can be painless or may start off with some lower abdominal cramps. Like I'm pregnant, but it looks like I'm going to have my menses. So that feeling, they may have this, cramps, aches and pain, which may increase, with time. Then they may bleed. Some may even bleed without even those pain, but bleeding, they may spotting here and there. Then the bleeding can become heavier. Then there may be some pain, where they have these, pain or crampy kind of pain. Then also, it depends on how advanced the pregnancy is. They may lose the fluid that is around the baby.
Okay.
They may see that fluid is coming out, and some may even depend on how the miscarriage goes. They may even have some fetal parts coming out. So these three can, especially with the bleed and that's this kind of pain that they may have.
So during pregnancy, the slightest thing the woman feels, she should go to the hospital.
Well, any change in the norm. If you are pregnant, there are things that shouldn't happen. Some may spot a bit at the beginning of the pregnancy and it may go. It may not be anything all throughout the pregnancy because of placental problems. They may have these spots here and there. And that one, the doctors have to confirm what it is.
Exactly.
So if you are pregnant and you notice any change, you shouldn't assume that everything is fine. What happens, there are a lot of pregnant mothers delay. in terms of going to the hospital. You know, so by the time they get there, it's too late to save the baby. You know, and sometimes when you start having those problems, maybe you may go to some of the risk factors or the causes. You know, but if you're able to pick it early, you know, yes. So any change in the way you feel in pregnancy may be a sign that you're about to lose your baby. And that is why if you are pregnant, antenatal care should sit on top of your list. Reviews, when a doctor says come, you should go. You don't try and do things at home. If you are taking anything or doing anything, you need to be able to seek counsel from your medical professional to prevent some of those things.
So viewers, please, in case you have a pregnant sister or a wife, whoever, please just let's allow this advice to go to them. The slightest change, the least thing they see, they feel. They shouldn't sit down and say, so it's normal. No, please visit the hospital so that you don't lose the baby. Other than that, you allow the force to breast because sometimes there are certain things that we need to apply our common sense. Just go there. Just let us go there so that at least the baby can be saved. Mostly from what doctor has said, I realized that most miscarriages probably it is out of ignorance from the women. They ignore allowing whatever they've seen becoming part of them. And he said that allow antenatal to be the top of your list. Don't joke with it, please. Don't joke with it. Then the doc mentioned let's enter into what may cause miscarriage.
Well, there are certain causes and risk factors for people who are likely to miscarry. So usually from the baby side, any chromosomal abnormalities. So the building blocks, the genetic building blocks, your chromosomes, is what determines how you develop and everything else. When there are some abnormalities with that, the baby can come out. Then also, what do you call it?
The chromosome, that's a
No. So everybody has a genetic makeup that indicates how you develop, right? And the building blocks, and so your building blocks in terms of your genetic makeup is what basically, if in simple terms, what your chromosomes are, and that is what determines your growth. So yes, that is what determines your growth. So if you're a female or a male, you have a certain chromosomal component, and your chromosomes also determines everything about you, your growth and everything. So if there are some chromosomal abnormalities, the baby may not be able to develop well, and the baby may come out. Then also placental problems. So placenta is what links the baby to the woman, all the blood supply and feeding and everything. Through the placenta, when there are problems with the placenta, the baby can come out. Then also you have maternal problems with the womb, right? Maybe the womb, the shape of the womb or how the womb is not compatible with pregnancies. Not every womb can carry pregnancy. So that can affect it. Then maybe you may have some fibroids here and there that may affect the proper nurturing and development of the baby. So that can also cause problems. Then the cervix. The cervix, is like the entry point. So from the vagina is the opening outside, and it's more like what do you call it? A holding an empty place. Just like you enter into a room, you have a hall. So the vagina is the first entry point, and the place, right? Then we have the cervix. That leads to the major body of the womb, then the tubes and the eggs. So the cervix closes tightly. It closes. It seals.
The bedroom gate closes tightly.
Yeah, tightly. For some people, they have some problems with their cervix, such that it becomes unable to close tightly. So it opens, so that the baby comes out. So at some point, if you have this weak cervix, the doctors may decide to put in a few stitches here and there, or give you some medications to keep the place, closed, so that the baby doesn't come out. So a lot of women who have some miscarriages have problems with their cervix. And the doctors will know. When they examine you and do some scans and all that, they may know what your cervix looks like and what the problem is. And when they do scans, they will know whether it's open or not. And when it's open, they are able to, do all kinds of procedures there to be able to close it. So a lot of women who have multiple miscarriages, they may have this, we call it incompetent cervix. not competent enough to hold pregnancies.
So when the baby, it's just drop.
Yeah, so it opens and the baby comes out. When your cervix opens, the baby will come out. It's one of the signs to the womb that the baby should come out.
The baby should come. Yeah, okay.
So when you're in labor, the cervix opens.
Opens naturally.
Naturally opens. Okay. And it tells the baby to start coming down. So the cervix. Then also maternal problems. So mother with any chronic illness, hypertension, diabetes and stuff like that, they may have some thyroid problems, or what do you call it? They may also have some infections in pregnancy. So any illness, malaria and stuff like that in pregnancy, you don't manage it well, it becomes complicated. You may lose the baby, or sugar problems, like I said, and stuff like that. You can lose the baby. Some medications, none comes on the top of my head, but some medications.
But you hear the advert says pregnant women shouldn't.
Yes, whatever medications you are taking, you need to be able to tell the doctor about it. That, oh doctor, this and that, and the doctor will advise whether it's safe or not. Then also alcohol and smoking, right? Those who smoke and drink during pregnancy, it can terminate the child. Then also, what do you call it? You look at, we may talk about, when any traumatic event, maybe accidents and stuff like that, and probably domestic violence and all that. Those things may be extreme, but they may contribute to some miscarriages. Then, what do you call it? Maybe if I may add obesity. Obesity is a risk factor for all kinds of things.
Really?
Yes. Obesity is a risk factor for all kinds of gynecological problems that may lead to miscarriage.
And I think that we need to pick it up and probably talk about it. If because it's who are lying obesity to miscarriage.
You see, obesity is a risk factor for all kinds of illnesses, right, and all kinds of female-related gynecological problems, and those ones may be the reason for miscarriage. Obesity, even risk factor for breast cancer and all that, risk factor for hypertension, diabetes, cancers. Obesity is a killer, right? So that is why doctors will advise lose weight. So weight loss is one of the important, things that controls obesity and stuff like that.
My sister out there, my aunties, my mothers, everyone. See, there are things that is not to be taken to church for prayers. If you are gaining weight,
you don't go to church. You go to the gym.
You go to exactly. If you are gaining weight, if you want to lose weight, it's not church issue. It is to the gym or a deliberate exercise at home. Be deliberate about it, so that you can lose weight to carry that pregnancy. Because I'm sure a lot of people are still crying and saying, Pastor, I always get miscarriages, but they haven't checked their weight, they haven't checked the things they do, they haven't checked all these things around them. And these things, doctor said, are some of the causes that can cause what we call miscarriage. But doctor,
let me just add one which is very important. I forgot. It's about age. The more advanced the woman is, the higher it is for them to have miscarriage. Whoa. So as the moment you cross 35, the risk goes up more than 50%.
Whoa.
Yes. So that is why usually I tell couples, a lot of couples, Definitely. They marry maybe in their 20s or early 30s. I tell them that if making kids is part of your plans and it's important, hurry up. One, because it takes a lot to get pregnant. Having sex doesn't mean you can easily get pregnant. It takes a lot. Whoa. So if you are married and you think childbirth is important, delay your education and not your childbearing. Because education, you can have it at any time. But because when you start having babies, trying to have babies and it's not coming, then you have time to deal with why you are having infertility issues. You have time.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? If miscarriages begin, you have time to fix it before you cross the age of 35. Because when you cross 35, all kinds of genetic abnormalities and miscarriages and all those things, maternal deaths and all that goes high. Right? So if you want to have babies and it's important, it's better you delay your schooling and have babies. than to go to school and delay. Because pregnancy is a major problem. You know, making babies is not simple. A lot of, you know, young couples, they delay, do their masters, do PhD. Now that they settle, they want to have children, then they realize there's a problem. Then now, you know, it's difficult and they can't have kids because of that delay. You know, so age is also a major risk factor for miscarriages.
Another school of thought says that I met this lady who was pounding fufu. Actually, she told me that the reason why she was pounding that fufu vigorously was that she wanted to abort.
Well, those things is not the typical, what do you call it? A typical reasons why people get miscarriages, like having sex or exercise or those things. No, it's not the usual. But every woman is different. So those things plus the things I've given earlier may be the reason for the miscarriage.
Exactly.
And not those exclusive reasons.
Exactly. Yes. So when you are talking about the causes, you made mention of risk factors, and age, as you said, it's one of the. Then I understand Sarah when she laughed in the tent and told herself that how can I, as a woman that age, could give birth. We always bring that one when we are talking about faith. We're talking about prayer, but health-wise, it is true that level, if after 35 years, I don't know then, when our 35 years made, I don't know when, because their condition, their living conditions are different from us. We are, this fast food, all these things is having an effect on our whatever. But yes, they were eating kind of stuff. But if somebody is in her late 30s to 40, and the chances of her getting pregnant is low with all these things, then it means that probably, I don't know what should be told to that person. I don't know the counsel that should be told to that person because, Doc, we are pastors and we know a lot of people who comes to us to pray for, but when you ask the age, it is weird. But so we use the Rebecca, we use the Elizabeth, we use the Sarah to encourage ourselves. Aside aging, what are some of about a risk? Another risk factor that people don't know. What can you say about that, so that we move on to the complications and?
I think I've said a lot about risk factors with most of the things that results in miscarriage. I've talked about, but let me make a comment about faith and natural things.
Exactly.
We would have to realize that natural things were set up by God Himself.
Exactly.
To allow the normal progression of things in life. So pregnancy, God has set the natural course.
Okay.
And it's God who set it up. We didn't set up 9 months.
Exactly.
We didn't set 24 weeks.
No,
we didn't set the womb issues here. We didn't set it up. It's God.
It's true.
So natural things are natural. And natural things are not unspiritual.
Exactly.
Because it's a spiritual father who created the natural. There's a natural order. Exactly. He steps in when he has to step in. And it is not any prayer for child that God responds. You know, it's not any prayer. Otherwise, a lot of people who have been praying for children would have gotten pregnant a long time, because it wouldn't take God anything to be able to make a woman pregnant. God is the creator of the universe. It won't take him anything. So if you are praying and still you are not having babies, it doesn't mean that you don't have faith enough or your prayers are not going up to God. It's just God's one, natural order. Two, His own plans for this world. You know, children represent many things to many families. And those may be the reasons why people want to have babies. Not because of God's order or plans. God has His own plans. Right? And those plans, you can't step it. You know, the Bible says if we pray according to it, I think 1 John chapter 5, verse 14, says this is the confidence that we have, that if we pray according to His will, He hears us. So sometimes some mothers are not even getting pregnant just because it's just not God's will for them. Sometimes some couples may never give birth because they need to raise what do you call it, a foster child who also needs a parent. You know, but they are not looking at that angle. You know, so the fact that you are not getting pregnant, you have miscarriage, doesn't mean that you are faithless or you're unspiritual. You know, and again too, you don't have to test God by delaying your own timing. You see,
exactly. That's a good point.
Don't go pursue.
Please retrace that point again.
I said you don't have to test God by delaying your own timing. You see, so you pursue your own goals and aspirations and do whatever you want to do with your life. And wait, you are old. Then now you want to come and test God.
God said
that it should make it. You can't test God. You see, when we say do not test the Lord, it's one of the ways.
Exactly.
Like for example, you don't go to the hospital when you're unwell. Wait until the thing is very, very, very serious, and you get to the hospital. And now you are praying that God should intervene.
Exactly.
You are testing God. You've put God in a corner and expect Him to perform. If He doesn't perform, you say God is unfaithful. So in the natural of things, make sure that you follow natural things.
Ways, all right.
In unusual circumstances, God may decide to intervene.
That's one of unusual circumstances. God may decide to intervene. All right, so we're going for this quick break. When we return, we're going to talk about the complications and how best we will be able to prevent miscarriages. Please don't go anywhere. I'll be right back.
Welcome to Hope Channel, and of course to your favorite program, Watch These Signs.
As long as you are not in that boundary, He will do all kinds of things to protect you so that you continue to move. There are times some things should have happened which should have crushed you to death, but because of the power of God, to give you extra more time so that you can consider the issues of eternity. From plug things
on the farm.
Verse 23.
Yes, and that was when the Pharisees came, then he made this statement. And that is the same response people give today. That the Sabbath law says, thou shalt not do this, thou shalt not do this, don't touch this, don't go to market, don't. And so people use this text to tell you that even Jesus,
my understanding about laws is that they are rules and regulations governing our society, yes, or our community.
They are like rules. They are made to regulate human behavior.
Right to freedom, right to life, right to own property. Yeah, that's what I know.
Yes. The Supreme Court. Okay, so Shaj, don't see what you. Yeah. Yes, my right has been violated. In school, I heard that corporal punishment is now abolished, but my teacher still used to cane us. The highest law in Ghana is the Constitution.
This is difficult.
The law on life. I think the law on life.
So which is which? The Constitution or the right to life? Why don't you join me, Anita Delight Dankwa, every Thursday at 6:30 p.m. as we discuss all legal issues from a Christian perspective on Hope Channel, your preferred Christian channel.
All right, welcome back from the break. I strongly believe that you are enjoying our conversation, and I want you to send the link to our wives who are still preparing for pregnancies, our sisters, our aunties who are still preparing for pregnancy, that they need to learn from this thing so that it will help them. Don't try to delay. Don't try to delay your own thing and test God, please. I like that phrase, and it's good. Don't try to. Don't use school. Don't use life. Don't think that my worry. I want to chill for 2, 3, 4 years. There's a couple who did that. Said they wanted to chill right after marriage, they wanted to chill for 2-3 years. And during the 2-3 years of chilling, God gave them their 2 children. And doctor, as I'm speaking to you now, they have tried to give birth to the 3rd child. It's not coming. So if that 2 years could have missed them, it means that naturally they after that 2 years they're not going to give them.
Yeah. So pregnancy is not. People think that the moment you sleep with a woman, the person should get pregnant. It's not. It doesn't work that way.
We need to cancel.
It doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way because infertility is a big thing, and usually the men too have to listen because infertility, 1/3 of the problem is from the women, 1/3 is from the men.
So it's
and sometimes 1/3 you are not sure it's from both of them. Okay. So if making babies is part of your plans, make sure you do it, early, so that in case there are problems, you can fix it. Because the women don't have time. In Ghana, for example, menopause is around mid-40s.
Yeah.
It can start as early as even 38.
38 years. Yeah.
So if you are delaying and say, after 36, 37, your menopause can start early. And you don't test God by waiting, and when it's menopause, and you want to go and pray and fast, and so see to reverse it. It's gone.
It's gone. You've missed your chance, it's gone. No, what are the complications when it comes to?
Well, briefly, there are 2 major ones that can happen. Maybe bleed, too much bleed, and if it's not managed well, they may have some infections, which can be very serious. And whatever caused the infertility, the miscarriage, in the first place, can happen again. So if you don't go to the hospital, you are not attended to well, they don't access your risk factors here and there, you can have future multiple miscarriages.
So Doc, the couple just lost the baby due to miscarriage. What are the psychological effects of miscarriages, both for the woman and the husband as well?
Okay, the main issues with miscarriage has to do with the representation of children when it comes to marriage and culture and religion. Societies have perceptions about what children represent. Children represent many things. One, they represent a name. Children represent your name.
Name, yeah.
Yes, so they carry your name around.
Okay.
So people know me sometimes because of the name on me.
Okay, exactly.
So there are certain names you mention. Way you feel way.
Exactly.
So it represents name. 2, it represents legacy.
Legacy, okay.
Children are carriers of a legacy.
What they came to meet.
Yes, what they carry it on.
Yeah.
So they carry. So it's if a parent or a family there are no kids, it's not just the kid. It's what they represent. 3, they represent what do you call it? An assignment. Children are destined to fulfill a certain assignment on earth for God's glory. They have a divine assignment. And so when children are not coming in, parents are wondering, what is God doing with us?
Exactly.
Because children represent an assignment. David died, Solomon continued.
Exactly.
His children continue a certain kinship and all that. 4, children represent a family, a continuation of a certain family or kinship or rulership or governance.
Exactly.
So for example, those who belong to the royal family, kids is so important. Even the sex of a child is so important.
Exactly, the male child.
The representation of children is so important. So depending on the family, the dynamics is very, very different. Again, children represent an investment.
Okay, yes.
Yes, an investment. So for example, if you are a father, you have kids, you know that, what do you call it? When you grow older, at least you'll not be alone. You have someone who may be there to support you. May not be financially, but just physical support, moving you around. You are 70, 80, you need someone to move. Exactly. Kids are important. Otherwise, you may have other people's kids trying to support you, and that can create problems.
Exactly.
Then finally, kids represent, what do you call it? They represent a father's will.
Okay.
In terms of what he wants to leave with the next generation. When you are dying and you are giving your properties to someone who is from you, who is yours.
Yeah, you are.
It's nicer, it feels good
assured,
than when you are dying, there are no kids and all the house and all the things is given to someone who may not even care about you. When you die, someone will take over your properties. But if your properties are being taken over by your kids, yes. So in the mind of a couple, it's not just a human child coming. No. The representations around it, even the cultural and spirit, children represent God's blessing.
Exactly. So it's the heritage of the
Lord. It represents. So when a child, they think, is God neglected me? God blessed me too.
Yes.
And also represent a family's glory in a way.
Exactly.
That is why parents, feel ashamed and feel that they don't have any glory or something when children are. So it's a whole thing. So with this in mind, losing is, if they are not coming, you may think, okay, they are not coming, but when they come and you lose, right, it depends on the representation, so you may be very, very anxious about life, not the uncertainty about pregnancies, and you may be so anxious such that every sexual encounter is an anxiety event. Right, so people, instead of probably couples having sex and enjoying it, whilst they're having sex, they're thinking about whether a child will come out of this or not, and what will happen to a child. So anxiety about the future, uncertainty about everything. 2, stress in trying to fix the problem. When you have a miscarriage, you have to go to hospital, all the management procedures and protocols and the labs and the tests and all the stresses around in-laws and what they are doing and what they are not doing. It can create a lot of stress for couples. 3, guilt. They may feel so guilty and blame themselves, for what is happening. Now they have to look into themselves. What have you done wrong? What am I doing wrong? Is it what I did, some years back that God is punishing me? Is this guilt and blame can go on for many years? And especially, couples may start blaming each other and start looking into their families and find out, do you have miscarriages in your family? Do you have this? The blame can go on and on because people want to find reasons why those things are happening.
But can it be genetic? Can that thing work if a family that...
So the genetic reasons may be all the risk factors, the causes, and I've talked about. So those ones can have some genetic linkage. Not that miscarriage itself is genetic.
That's fine.
But the causes of the miscarriage can be like that. And also when people assign some spiritual interpretations to it, they add on to the problem. They may go into some form of depression and all that. And because of what children represent to a woman, it may even cause them to define themselves by that. So their self-image and identity can be threatened. It can cause family problems, conflict in marriages, dissatisfaction and unhappiness in marriage. It can cause some pain, it can cause some divorce can come up, extramarital affairs and all those things can come up if, those problems can continue. And so, depending on where they come from, the family they come from, the social support they have, it may make these things worse or not. It will threaten their faith in God if they are not grounded in God. And especially if they go to other places and they are told that this person is from here, this is responsible for this, who is coming here, and every time they go to church, some people will even call forward, if they are church leaders or elders, or members who are prominent, they call them forward all the time to pray for them, and it's a whole thing. I think calling couples like that in front of a church, praying for them and giving prophecies to them in public spaces, we may have to be very wise about it. Even if you have a prophecy about them or anything, call them to your office and give them. Saying that in front of a church may not change the prophecy outcome. But do that for them because they are going through a lot already. So all those problems can actually cause them and the energy to be able to even invest in their own lives and stuff, it may go down.
And even Doc, the aftermath, the next baby who is coming, are we sure
yes
it will survive?
So that will create a lot of anxieties for them. And so the next pregnancy becomes an anxiety pregnancy. Yes, because the trauma of trying to know that this baby you can also miscarry, or depend on how many miscarriages you have had in the past, it can create a lot of problems for you. Depend on the social support and your own mindset about it. It can really cause problems. And so one of the things that doctors may have to do is to refer clients for some psychological support.
Exactly.
If they have a miscarriage.
Exactly.
You know, usually the normal doctors or the doctors who are not holistic in their approach, you know, they may just, you know, look at the causes, deal with some of them, and maybe deal with some of the medical issues with it, and just tell them to go home. But anybody who goes through any miscarriage should seek some evaluation and support from a mental health worker. Can be a psychologist or a psychiatrist or a counselor or someone who has been trained in some mental health to be able to assess and help them. The whole family, including the husband. The husband goes through the same problems that the couples go.
Mostly the women think that when it happens, so it is only them, because men are happy to put their children on their shoulders. It is one of the beautiful things men want, especially to put their babies in that career thing. You see, let me tell you, I've experienced these things before. I think that one of the days I will share about it. But you see, the beauty of carrying a baby is something beautiful. You wish, you yearn for. So when you go to the malls or the public gatherings and you see the men carrying their children, and you could feel your wife is miscarrying, and the women think that they are the only people who go through today we just want to tell them the men go through the same traumatic experience, sometimes more than.
Yeah, the problem with men is that we don't show our emotions.
We don't show our emotions.
So when we are going through those things, women don't know that we are also suffering. Men, because men will want to be strong for the women.
Exactly.
And it depends on how. And again, it depends on how good the marriage is.
How good that's
yes. If you love your wife, you know she's supportive, you appreciate her, like the marriage is going well. Miscarriages can be a big thing. But if you really don't like the marriage in the first place, miscarriages can be a reason for an exit.
An exit, okay.
It can be a reason for an exit. And so, yes, and especially in our traditional, you know, marriages where multiple marriages, polygamy is acceptable. They may decide to pick one or two other wives in addition to their marriage. You know, so that, yes, others may not even marry. They may have some woman somewhere who will just give them children.
But yes. How do we prevent miscarriage?
Well, all the risk factors I've talked about, we need to control it. Weight, alcohol, smoking. When you're unwell, go to the hospital. You know, when you see any symptoms, go to the hospital. Let the doctors check you out. Before pregnancy, healthy lifestyle, and that kind of thing. Regular medical checkup, and all those basic things. You know, that we have to do. You know, going for antenatal clinic early. You know, monitoring here and there. And those things, I think that we need to do.
But Doc, in the first trimester of pregnancy, what is advisable for our women? What should they do? What should they do?
Well, normal life is fine. Nothing really.
Because you see, some may put pressure on themselves, especially those who have gone through miscarriages before. Definitely are anxious about whether it will take.
Well, the basic is that the moment if you've had miscarriages before, after the miscarriage, you must be seeing your obstetrician and gynecologist for reviews, for preparation for pregnancy, depending on what they found as a risk factor for the miscarriage. So that one you have to do it. You have to, you know, be regular with your OBGY, you know, obstetrician and gynecologist. They are in charge of pregnancy-related stuff. Then they would decide on what next steps to take. When you become pregnant, you have to see them ASAP. You know, so that they are aware. They would decide on specific things that you can do, right? But a normal, healthy lifestyle is just basic. Yes.
All right. Time wouldn't permit us to talk more. Doc, miscarriages are something that you have elaborated to us more. You have learned something personally. I'm picturing myself in that moment when we experience some in our homes. But what would be your last word for the church? How do we church support couples in that aspect?
I think churches should be holistic in their approach to health issues. It is not wrong to pray. It is also not wrong to seek medical care. Both of them, God initiated it. Medical care is in the Bible. Prayer is also in the Bible. When you combine both, I think the results are better. So when you're a pastor or a church leader or a Christian and someone confides in you about pregnancy-related issues, do your part. Let them get to the hospital. let the doctors do their part. When you combine both, I think the results are better. There are natural ways God has put in place for people to live a normal life. Divine things come along the line as and when God realizes it's necessary. And the fact that you are going through stuff doesn't mean that you are not prayerful enough or God is not looking your way. It may be because of natural things that you may need some interventions for. Some people may give birth through IVF. Yes. Some may give birth through the normal process. And it's all pregnancy. And I think that anything that does not go against the word of God is acceptable by God. And a holistic approach to healthcare, I think is the best.
Thank you so much, Dr. Nimanatha, for your time. Doctor has promised me behind the scene that he will visit me once again. He will visit me once again with another beautiful topic. So stay tuned for that. So this word time will permit us to draw the curtains of today's discussion on the psychological effect of miscarriages. And I think that in Philippians chapter 4 verse 6, he said, be anxious for nothing, but in everything by prayer, supplication with thanksgiving, let our requests be made known to God. And verse 7 says, and the peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, will guard your heart, minds through Jesus Christ. Beloved, as we're saying, we wouldn't let you do something that you're not supposed to do, but we always tell you the right thing so that when you put it to practice, it's going to help you. We need to reduce the number of miscarriages by the things that Dr. Nimanatha had advised us upon. And I've been your regular host for this program, News of the Heart, and I know that as we have taken off, you're not going to relent, you're not going to stop until Christ comes. Once again, thank you so much for being with me. Please share the link, share to people, let them hear, or Hope TVGH, Facebook, YouTube, saying please share for others also to also learn, to watch and to learn something that the society can help other things. Once again, I'll thank Slick Afrik for their fabric, and I'll thank Dr. Nimanatha for his time with me on the set. And I'll thank you who is watching, that you continually watch this program, and because of you we are here. If you are not there, we are not here. Thank you so much. And I've been your regular host, and the name is Pastor Dan Abidu Bidiaba. I'm out.
There's a place in your heart, and I know that it is love.
Mechia ubibia or shebi ebrim your friend Lydia into a painting. My brother ya oti hey ewo problem kakra e fa na so a onti asem. I did not happen